Hello guys, welcome to Global Happenings. Today we have a trending news for you, and the headline reads: Ex-President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo warns President Muhammadu Buhari of the uprising that is imminent, secession, uprising, and many others. See details. But before we go into the news proper and further analysis, we do love you to subscribe to our channel by clicking on the red subscribe button below. Beside it, you will see a bell notification icon. Please go ahead, click on it to get notified as soon as we update our channel. Okay, let's go straight into the news of the day. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, Nigeria's ex-president, is worried that the country may fall into deep crisis over debate on its unity. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has expressed concern over the current debate about restructuring the nation. The ex-Nigerian president is worried that if the restructuring debate generates any further, it could lead to violence as groups move for self-governance. Obasanjo made this statement at the inaugural university lecture of the late founder of the Oodua People's Congress, Frederick Fashion. The former military general warned the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration to quickly manage the situation before it gets worse. Obasanjo said the self-determination issue would take longer to end than the current Boko boys should it not be prevented in the first place. There's still a window of opportunity for us to nip it in the bud, a possible and indeed likely agitation for self-determination that will be violent and all-empowering. We have descended to lack of civility, burden of civilization, indignity, mutual disrespect, and crudity in the language of our debate, dialogue, discourse, address, comments, and remarks across tribe, section, religion, ethnicity, and community. If not halted, it will degenerate and poison the atmosphere to the tipping point of no return, Obasanjo warned. The debate of the restructuring, explaining why different regions of the country should either be autonomous or at least self-reliant within the Nigerian Union, has been a major conversation in the country's polity for some years now. Obasanjo, a well-known critic of Buhari's administration, had written several times to the incumbent president in the past, urging action on different issues he raised and he deemed important. Some Nigerians thought the two leaders had reconciled their differences when Buhari and Obasanjo met at the opening ceremony of the 33rd African Union Summit in Addis Ababa sometime in February 9th on Sunday. The President Buhari had left Nigeria for the summit on Friday, February 7th, alongside state governors like Hope Uzodinma of Imo State and Ben Ayade of Cross River State. Others in the president's entourage were senators and top officials in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, including Godfrey Onyema. Obasanjo's words were similar to the ones he said in July 2019 when he wrote a letter to Buhari telling him to put an end to violent attacks across Nigeria. The former president said the world was warning Nigeria against descending into the state of violence because any outbreak would be difficult to contain. According to Obasanjo, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, the Boko boys has menacingly ravaged the land, and in spite of government's claim of victory over Boko boys, the potency, the activity of the group where they are active remain undiminished, putting a lie to government's claim. Well, we have heard what Chief Olusegun Obasanjo has said. What he has said is not far-fetched from what we already experienced. Let the truth be told. The level of unrest in this dispensation has not been unequaled. It has been the peak ever. And it was, before now, like Chief Olusegun Obasanjo has rightly said, before now, a lot of regions have been calling for restructuring. Some regions are even calling for 100% resource control. At least it's not a situation where the federal takes all your resources and gives you a little, or takes even the resources of a particular region, using it to fund and develop another region at the expense of the mother region, as the region generating the wealth. Some regions pay more tax than other regions, but yet they are neglected in terms of development, and all these things do not add up. All these things make those regions desire restructuring. How can I be the one taking, if not 50 to 60% of the economy, sustaining the economy, and yet neglected. Just that saying about the goats, the chicken that lays the golden egg neglected. It should even be the one they should even manage the most, because it's the one bringing. But alas, it's not so in Nigeria. It's always the opposite, is always the case, and this has been generating a lot of agitations around the regions in Nigeria, where some regions feel neglected even though they're the one bringing majority of the income. And while it has been upcoming, other people feel, why should you be agitating? What do you mean? It's not one Nigeria. Why should you have 100% resource control? Is whatever they now remember the law of the land, where they said the land and the resources therein belongs to the federal government of Nigeria, and forgetting the fact that it first belongs to the community before it belongs to the federal government. All these things are the things that made a lot of regions to start agitating. But now it has gone beyond agitation, because you can now see that while some persons, some regions are transporting something well-meaning, others are transporting things that are detrimental to human health and all that. These are even detrimental to existence as a whole. And these are the things we are looking at. The fact that not just Olusegun Obasanjo, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo talking now, but the world bodies have been talking about it, international bodies have been talking about it, the American president have mentioned it, UN have said something about it. They keep talking about this same issue, but to no avail. But let's look at it the way it is critically. If we want to say the truth the way it is, if this is not caught in the net, if this issue of restructuring is not looked into and properly dealt with, if you keep calling hate speech, one part of the region is seen as people making hate speeches. But when other regions make hate speeches, it is not, in fact, they don't, reprimand such persons, they allow statement to fly. But when another region or set of persons make such statement, it becomes hate speech. These are the things we're talking about, where there's no trust, where there's distrust amongst the fellow countrymen, where dignity, it doesn't come into play, where honesty, integrity has been thrown into the trash can. All these things are the things that bothers an average Nigerian, and bothers even the world, because we're people who are from different tribes, different ethnicity. We have over 200 languages in Nigeria. We have different tribes coexisting as one. Now, if the trust is taken away, if there's lack of communication, effective communication, where communication becomes insultive, life-threatening, then by all means, mistrust will come into play. Just a matter of time. We are bidding time. It's just a matter of time. Now, if restructuring is taking forever to come by, it's a matter of time. If other regions have been feeling neglected, if other regions have been feeling milked out, what do I mean? Where their resources are used to take care of other regions who contribute little or nothing to the quota, little or nothing to the economy of Nigeria as a whole. Next thing you start thinking of is 100% resource control. Next thing you start thinking of is restructuring, so that at least they should have autonomy of power, autonomy of their region, autonomy on how to run their resources. And if all these things are not taken into cognizance, and senators and the rest of the political leaders are not rising up to the bidding of these same guys, it's just a matter of time. You begin to see self-actualization, secession, and like the Biafrans have started thinking about secession, because for a while now they have felt neglected. It may not just be Biafrans that wanted to sit out of the country. Restructuring is a bit different. Restructuring is a case of, look, these things we are doing, we're not doing it right. Okay, we need to restructure. We need to reorganize this country such that it will be a win-win for all regions, such that everyone will be happy, and we will be the country itself will become profitable for all, which still means that everyone still remains in Nigeria, just that it has been restructured. Maybe peradventure it may have to be a bit of more of autonomy, maybe a bit of more of 100% resource control, but you still remain as one Nigeria. But secession is officially, leaving, separating oneself from Nigeria. Now, if restructuring is not even making headway, they try calling for restructuring, you are insisting because you feel that if they restructure, some certain region will no longer benefit or enjoy the benefit of other people's sweat, of other people's natural resources, and you feel it is your right to begin to enjoy what you did not plant or sweat for. You now want to enjoy from other people's region, and they be clamoring for restructuring, you have said that the next point of call you'll be hearing is secession. Now, if you can't restructure so that everyone will have a win-win and every region should start working up to par, every region should start being on top of their toes to see how they can bring something to the federal to the table, not just one region or 2 or 3 regions working so hard to bring something to the table, to the federal table, and the remaining region just feel they should be redundant, they should become parasitic, But now, if everyone is up and running and there's restructuring, all regions will begin to see where they are lacking and they'll begin to work as at par. But if they refuse to restructure and these other parasitic regions have decided to still remain glued to the fact that they don't like restructuring because it's going to expose a lot of the weak links within the region, within the regionality of Nigeria, then you may likely be hearing things like secession. And this may not just be Biafrans alone trying to look for secession. We may be looking at other persons. Already Odua People's Congress, Oduanas, the Yorubas, the Southwesterners are beginning to sing the drum. They are beginning to dance, sing the song of secession bit by bit. Although it's coming like Amatekun, but bit by bit, they're restructuring and they may likely want to ask for their own country if this continues. That already Biafra is no more news. The whole world has already heard the fact that they want to leave. It's just a matter of referendum and all that. But now, if that's what Olusegun Obasanjo is trying to President Muhammad Buhari say, look, whatever it is that is causing this agitation, things are not done right. You need to go back to the drawing board and say you can fix this thing up. We are not just any country, but a country made up of so many different ethnicities, so many different culture, so many different languages, so many different belief system and different cultures, different religions in one country. So there has to be some level of trust. There has to be some level of matured communication. Once there's breakdown of distrust, matured communication and all that, then we're looking at restructuring. We're probably even looking at secession. And they're saying it has never been this bad in this country, in Nigeria. You need to work on it. You need to cut it now because before it blows out, out of proportion. And if you ask me, that call is timely. In fact, that call is almost late in coming. I'm surprised that people in the cabinet of the presidency are not seeing the signs and symptoms that the whole world is saying. They're playing politics over things that should be controlled now before it escalates. Already some regions have started asking for secession. I think everyone should be called on the table and let's go back to the drawing board. Where did we not get it right? What do we do now? How do we correct it before we begin to look at situations that is beyond our control? But that's how much I will say on this. What do you think about Chief Olusegun Obasanjo's call and warning concerning the issue of Nigeria?